NFPA 72, the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, provides guidance on smoke alarm placement. Here are some general principles. Firstly, place detectors in all rooms, hallways, and enclosed areas. Secondly, avoid placing detectors near air vents, fans, or other obstructions that can interfere with detection. Thirdly, use interconnected smoke alarms so that when one alarm sounds, they all sound. Fourthly, install at least one smoke alarm on each level of the building. For specific recommendations for small commercial buildings, consider these guidelines for offices. Firstly, install one smoke alarm in each enclosed office. Secondly, if the office has a separate entry from the hallway, install an additional alarm near the door. Now, let's discuss hallways. Firstly, install smoke alarms at both ends of the hallway if it is 30 feet or longer. Secondly, if the hallway is over 60 feet long, additional alarms may be required. Considering conference rooms, firstly, install one smoke alarm in the center of the ceiling. Secondly, if the room is over 1,000 square feet, additional alarms may be required. Addressing breakrooms, firstly, install one smoke alarm in the ceiling near the microwave and coffee pots. Secondly, if the breakroom has a separate entry from the hallway, install an additional alarm near the door. For storage areas, firstly, install smoke alarms near the ceiling and within 15 feet of the nearest aisle. Secondly, if the storage area is over 1,000 square feet, additional alarms may be required. Here are some additional considerations. Firstly, use smoke alarms that are listed by a nationally recognized testing laboratory such as Underwriters Laboratories or FM Global. Secondly, test smoke alarms regularly according to the manufacturer's instructions. Thirdly, consider using heat detectors in addition to smoke detectors in areas where smoke detection may be limited, such as storage areas. Fourthly, consult with a qualified electrician or fire alarm installer for specific installation requirements and code compliance. It's important to understand the underlying principles that drive these recommendations. Smoke rises, so placement on the ceiling or high on a wall is crucial for early detection. The interconnection of smoke alarms ensures that an alarm in one area will alert occupants throughout the building, providing more time for evacuation. The avoidance of obstructions and drafts is equally important to prevent false alarms and ensure reliable detection. In larger spaces, the recommendations for additional alarms are based on the need to cover a greater area and reduce the time it takes for smoke to reach a detector. The placement recommendations for specific areas, such as breakrooms and storage areas, take into account the potential hazards present in those locations. For instance, the presence of cooking appliances in a breakroom increases the risk of fire, while storage areas may contain flammable materials. Heat detectors are often recommended in storage areas because they are less likely to be triggered by dust or other airborne particles that may be present. When selecting smoke alarms, it's important to choose models that are listed by a nationally recognized testing laboratory. This ensures that the alarms have been tested and meet certain performance standards. Regular testing of smoke alarms is also essential to ensure that they are functioning properly. Most manufacturers recommend testing smoke alarms at least once a month. When installing smoke alarms, it's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. This will ensure that the alarms are installed correctly and will function as intended. In addition to following these general guidelines, it's also important to consult with a qualified electrician or fire alarm installer to ensure that your smoke alarm system meets all applicable codes and regulations. A qualified professional can assess your specific needs and recommend the best type of smoke alarms for your building, as well as the optimal placement of the alarms. They can also ensure that your smoke alarm system is properly installed and maintained. When considering smoke alarm placement in a commercial building, several factors should be taken into account, including the size and layout of the building, the types of occupancies present, and the potential fire hazards. The goal is to provide adequate coverage throughout the building and to ensure that occupants are alerted to a fire as quickly as possible. The recommendations provided in NFPA 72 are intended to provide a starting point for designing a smoke alarm system for a commercial building. However, it's important to remember that these are just guidelines and that the specific requirements for your building may vary depending on local codes and regulations. In addition to smoke alarms, commercial buildings should also have other fire safety measures in place such as fire extinguishers, fire sprinklers, and fire alarm systems. These measures can help to control a fire and prevent it from spreading, as well as to alert occupants to the fire. It's also important to have a fire evacuation plan in place and to conduct regular fire drills to ensure that occupants know what to do in the event of a fire. The fire evacuation plan should include information on evacuation routes, assembly points, and procedures for accounting for all occupants. Fire drills should be conducted at least annually and should involve all occupants of the building. By taking these steps, you can help to protect your commercial building and its occupants from the dangers of fire. Smoke alarms are an essential part of any fire safety plan, but they are just one piece of the puzzle. It's important to have a comprehensive fire safety plan in place that includes other measures such as fire extinguishers, fire sprinklers, and fire alarm systems. It's also important to have a fire evacuation plan in place and to conduct regular fire drills. Furthermore, consider the placement of manual pull stations as well, in case you have an active fire and you want to activate the alarm quickly. The placement should also be highly visible and accessible during an emergency, typically located near exits or in the path of egress. The height of the manual pull stations needs to be easily accessible for people, including those with disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, sets specific guidelines on height and reach ranges. Emergency lighting is also important as well, to help people evacuate the premises during a power outage which may be caused from the fire. Emergency lights should be installed in hallways, stairwells, exits, and other critical areas to allow for safe navigation. A properly designed and maintained fire safety plan can help to minimize the risk of fire and to protect your building and its occupants. Also, make sure to maintain records of inspections, testing, and maintenance of all fire protection systems including smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, and fire sprinkler systems. These records can be useful for insurance purposes and for demonstrating compliance with fire codes. The local fire marshal may also inspect these as well. Consider staff training as well. Ensure that all employees are trained on fire safety procedures including how to use fire extinguishers, how to evacuate the building, and how to report a fire. Regular training sessions can help to ensure that employees are prepared to respond effectively in the event of a fire. Integrate the fire safety plan with other emergency plans such as plans for medical emergencies, active shooter situations, and natural disasters. A coordinated approach to emergency preparedness can help to ensure that your organization is prepared to respond effectively to a wide range of threats. If possible, assign specific roles and responsibilities to individuals within your organization to oversee fire safety and emergency preparedness. This can help to ensure that someone is always responsible for these critical functions. Stay up to date with the latest fire safety codes and regulations and make sure that your fire safety plan is in compliance with all applicable requirements. Regularly review and update your fire safety plan to reflect changes in your building, occupancy, or fire codes. This can help to ensure that your plan remains effective and relevant. In addition to these recommendations, consider the specific needs of your building and occupancy when developing your fire safety plan. For example, if your building contains hazardous materials, you may need to take additional precautions to prevent and control fires. If your building is occupied by people with disabilities, you may need to provide additional assistance during evacuations. Remember that fire safety is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. By taking these steps, you can help to protect your commercial building and its occupants from the dangers of fire. Regularly monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of your fire safety plan. This can help you to identify areas where improvements can be made. Seek feedback from employees, tenants, and other stakeholders to identify potential fire safety hazards or concerns. Use this feedback to improve your fire safety plan and procedures. Remember that your fire safety plan should be a living document that is regularly reviewed and updated. The building layout is very important. Consider the arrangement of rooms, hallways, and other spaces when planning the location of smoke detectors and fire extinguishers. The location of exits is also important to consider to ensure proper egress during emergencies. Consider the building materials used in your commercial building, as some materials are more flammable than others. Fire-resistant materials can help to slow the spread of fire and provide additional time for evacuation. Electrical safety is also a very important factor in fire prevention. Ensure that all electrical wiring and equipment are properly installed and maintained. Regularly inspect electrical systems for potential hazards such as frayed wires or overloaded circuits. The fire suppression systems include fire sprinklers, fire extinguishers, and other systems designed to control or extinguish a fire. Ensure that these systems are properly installed, inspected, and maintained. Lastly, be mindful of housekeeping practices. Maintain good housekeeping practices to reduce the risk of fire. Keep flammable materials stored properly and ensure that trash and debris are removed regularly.